We're going to make the popping box card, the rectangular one. We're going to make a box like this. And to do that, we're going to use the template here. Now, for the moment, you're going to ignore everything down to that line. I'm going to draw it now and show you, because that creates a box like so with a lid on it that gives you a flap that can, if you want to, come over. So that's what the top part is for. We have to then just double side that. For the moment, all you need to do is make 2 boxes using your card and template. I'm going to line this up to the edge here. Normally I just guillotine that off and draw around it. So I'm going to here, that's my marker, and across the top here, like so. Then just down, round to here, and just fill in as per normal, like a regular popping box. My score lines there, down there, and across here. Pop that in there. That gives me the line because I'm using the tinted paper. So I've just placed it with that, allowing for the lip there. Again, just have a quick look. Everything seems fine. One little bit missing there, which is my fold lines for the tab here. So everything's in position. All I've got to do now is just go ahead and cut this out. We're going to make 2 of these in exactly the same way. You can, if you want to, because it was such a small line, you can come in a little bit on one side here as well. This will just allow the box to move a little bit better. If you want to, I'll just square it off. That tiny little slither out there will come down and just make that a little bit easier to work with later on. That was on the original popping box. It just indented, but it was so slight it was easy to miss, so it's worth coming back. Not essential, but it just, I think, helps make the box go together a little bit better. And then my score lines. Going to be careful with some papers because it will leave a mark. I think a ball tool is probably better than the back of a scalpel blade. Now, I haven't put any marks there because I've used this as my marker, the actual difference in the coloured paper, and this comes off the CD. And everything's now going to fold as per a regular popping box. Just pull that one back there. Everything's good for go. That's what we're going to use to make our standard boxes. I need 2 of those, so I'm going to go ahead now and just quickly draw out and cut out the second one to look just like that. Okay, 2 parts all cut out, identical and ready to glue, and it's just the same as you would normally do. Glue the flap as close to the edge as you can to there. That just holds it a little bit nicer. Recommend that you use a wet glue. Try and keep this straight. I'm just going to line that up there and just pull this down here. You can see now when I put these 2 together that a little bit of gap in there by taking a slither off is quite a useful thing. Not necessary, but it's just a handy hint for you there. That goes together there, flip it over, and it's just standard fare. I'm just going to run a piece all along the top here because that's the important one, and a few bits just to hold it there. So over, over, and over. Line that up there, line that up there, see where it comes. That's pretty good. A bit of waste under there, and then just drop that in and just tease it into position. It's pretty good. If it's not good that way, you can try it slightly different, but it's near enough is definitely good enough on that. Again, it's this line here that's the most important to have glued as straight to that edge as you can. Just a little bit to hold it in. Through it goes. And that is our regular popping box, but rectangular shaped. And there we go. It comes together quite nicely. As ever, because of the folds inside, the way that we've done it, it will naturally fold better one way than another. There's a little bit more gap. In essence, that's the box there, as we can see. Now, to produce the inner panels or inner panel supports that we've got here, we're simply going to use the part of the template. Whoops, let me just bring that into shot here for you. All I'm going to do is use, again working a bit messily, I'm going to use this part here where it says tab, and I'm just lining it up with the card because I'm lazy and don't want to cut too much. So that gives me my angled edge there. Down we come, like so, and like so. That creates the tabs, like that. You can see now, remember what we're trying to do is produce something, and if it's that size, because it fits that part of the template, that's going to fit inside the box. Technically it should be a little bit smaller because we've now got the thickness of the card inside, but in my humble opinion that doesn't matter too much, and I'll show you again a little way of working. That's my score line. Actually, no, I'm going to come back to that in a moment because that's what I want to talk to you about. The tabs I've done fairly small on this. It's enough to hold it, I find, but if you want to, you can always make them a little bit bigger. They are just purely functional, cutting this part down, aesthetic almost, so that's why I often do it by hand. Now, as I've said, because technically this is exactly the size of the box, if I can bring this one back in and show you, they can bow slightly. You want to make it just a wee bit shorter if you can. If it's exactly the same length, that thickness of card that's in there can just make them bow a little bit. What I find quite useful is just to come in just slightly to the inner part of that line. So this will make these a little bit shorter, like so, when I fold it, and that should, when it's in the box, just almost have to pull itself a little bit, and that will keep it straighter, if that makes sense. Now you can make this in the same coloured card that you've used to create the box. That's absolutely fine if you want to. I'm just working in white here because this is actually just a sheet of paper and wouldn't be any good to me. Now, the thickness of this, if I can just show you here, they I think are a little bit thin because we've got quite a big span. You may, if you want to put a popping box mechanism in there, have to just cut this down slightly to allow the elastic band and everything to work underneath. The actual thickness of this is up to you. I'm just going to probably have to create 2 of these, and I'll just come down like so. It's just a rough rule of thumb. It's just about 1 inch, 2.5 centimetres. And I'm still experimenting, I must admit. Sometimes you might need to make it a wee bit deeper, but that should be enough to work within our box. So what I'm going to do now is, put that out of the way there, glue this up, and again it's close to the edge is the important bit because that's where it's going to get pulled away, and especially with the wet glue you really want to come to this line. Otherwise, the further that's away, the more likelihood you'll get bend in the support because it's actually elongated it slightly. No right or wrong on this. I actually quite like putting 2 in there, so that's what I'm going to go for. And just roughly the rule of thumbs. The first one goes in, and that's just being held, put in by eye and just as upright as I can get it. Now I found it's the next flap, if you can see it here, that's just loose, and I'm just squeezing the box like so, and that will put it into position, lock itself in with the glue, and as I come out I get a perfect strap now. And I found that the easiest way of doing this, so I let that bit go free. put my time and effort into lining this one, and if I can show you that now on the camera, that is pretty straight. I'm really pleased with that. And of course then we can hold whatever it is that we're going to put on there with our card. Still experimenting. If I wasn't putting in the popping box mechanism, and I'll practice that so I can say it really fast, I would probably make that even a wee bit deeper. Because we've got so much length here. That said, another piece of card in there, it's not going to go too floppy. It's probably me over-engineering it. So 2 of those in, and then a 3rd panel at the back. And as for the panels, it really is just the same as the tab. If I can just bring this back and show you, a panel to go into there. That was our tab. It's just really this length here. Anything, I just draw some pencil lines down there. Anything that's down along here to any length that you want. And we could have our colour up there. That's the width. It's just the width of the box is that template. Again, when it comes to cut it, I would just cut inside the line a little bit to allow for the fact that we've got a 500 GSM thickness of card in the middle there. And it just takes out any doubt. I'd rather it was slightly smaller, because again, if it's too big, I'll just bring back this one and show you, it can curve a little bit. That's because that really needed to be slightly shorter. Now that's just the aesthetics, but I just think that is better to keep it nice and straight. So we put that up right in, and again, you can just put them at any level or height that you want. 1, 2, and the final one perhaps just resting on the back, which presupposes, do you need this flap here? But I've just popped that in. We've got 2 templates, sorry, 2 dies. 2 dies with this kit, and you can use those to decorate. Now, don't get confused with this being this part of the template. Simply pop the die on and just cut to the angle of that one. They work along the edge. In theory, they should go continuously as well. Haven't yet tried that. And we've got the circular one and works in exactly the same way. That looks very nice as well. So there we go. That's in essence how we make our popping box card there. Now I did mention this one and the tabs. Let's have a quick look at this. Remember, anything that lines up here makes our regular popping box. From here onwards is just about making a lid, and the lid looks like this. So what I've done is made the regular box. Instead of cutting off there, I've just done this. But as we fold it, that part would have been in white because that was the colour there. So on the back of the card, if I just pull this apart, I've just stuck another piece onto the back there and then popped that into the box. And then just cut the whole thing, just trimmed it up, because you've got to effectively line up 2 pieces of card. Now these ones come on the CD, and they come ready prepared with the basic shape there, but you're not limited to that, because all you're going to do is make a regular box with this, and then say with your coloured card you can come back and just make another one with any of the papers or samples or anything that you want to use from the template here. And again, all we're doing is just going down to that base panel there, coming up, and that would be our score line there. We'd ignore that line, and that just gives you the fold of the lip. The box does physically fold. It's designed so that you can, if you want to, make a kind of box, but it's really just the aesthetics. It's a lid on there. Yeah, it's there if you want to use it. It might or might not be useful. It depends how high everything is. Obviously, if we've got our images stuck here, that's never going to close anyway. So as for the toolbox, I just think it looks great. We'd have the tools sticking up, looks like a toolbox, decorating box, etc. It's really just an aesthetic part. It's not really designed to fold over and create there. So let me just freehand cut this out, and I can just show you very quickly. So I've got 2 lots of lines on here. Let me go to there and assume that's the right line. Cut across. And these are going to be used, as I said, to create the flap. So that comes out there. You'd have two folds, one here and just one, whoops, for the lid here. This is paper, by the way. And if I can just demonstrate, I would have made the box with one panel being full and the other one like this with the blue. I've got a little design sheet to show you. Now that would normally not be coloured, that would be white on the back as of the underside of these ones here. So what in essence I've done, imagine this is now captured between the two, is just stuck the extra one onto the back like that. So the thickness of that is a little bit, wee bit thicker, but put your score lines in and that will just glue. And I would suggest you make that before you put the whole box together and just trap it down in there, then no one can ever tell about that, and it just finishes it off nicely. And that's how you do the box, rectangular popping box card with a lid, and that's our regular one. And again, the supports will all be done the same way. It's all identical for the rest of them. Okay, have fun. I hope that shows you how it all comes together, and you can make some cracking cards. I'll go ahead and have a go at making some myself. Bye bye.